Hi, it's Hazel, and welcome to my channel, Hazel and Acca Design. Let me begin by thanking you for being here. I think that just by the nature of this video, that it will be more useful perhaps to people who are new to the junk journal or bookmaking world. My working title is Decoding Junk Journal Jargon. When I fell down the rabbit hole of junk journaling, I was, to say that I was confused was perhaps an understatement. I've always loved words. I believe that words have power. They have the power to inform, entertain, persuade, confuse, manipulate. Of course, I believe that words should be used for good rather than evil. Excuse me. And I kept hearing this special jargon, this insider talk, these words, acronyms and shortcuts and abbreviations that I didn't understand. And they didn't necessarily tie into what I understood to be the definition of those particular words. So even before I started this channel, I had the idea that, boy, oh boy, if I ever have a channel, I want to do a video defining some of these terms and maybe, a show and tell type thing, so that people don't have to watch hundreds of videos before they finally get the hang of what people are talking about. So that is going to be my attempt here today. Just as a cover your butt disclaimer kind of thing, I don't have all the answers. God knows sometimes I don't even know the questions. But this is my best attempt at explaining and defining some of these terms. Again, it'll be most useful to people who are just new and grappling with some of this stuff. And I have a bit of a cheat sheet off to the side here. So as I just sort of brainstormed it, and as I cover them, hopefully I'll cross them off and not miss anything. So a long time ago, I made this journal thinking that, well, real YouTubers usually have a journal in process that they can point to and say, oh, yes, and I would put that on this page. And I think I did that for a few videos and then promptly forgot and was doing other things. So this will be my guinea pig. I have some things clipped in here. Excuse me. I went through the drawers and tried to find example of everything I'm going to be talking about, and hopefully, kind of show how it can be used in the journal. So let's just begin. One of the first things I have here on my list is journal topper. Now, this isn't necessarily the right one for this book, and not every journal has a topper as such. But by and large, it's a term that's used to define sort of the things that go on the top of the journal. It can have corrugated cardboard, it can have fabric and lace, and it tends to be more dimensional than anything that most people would put inside. So this is just a pretty simple one. Fabric, lace, this is actually a coaster. Use some piping around it, a wee bit of ribbon, and a few things glued together. So journal topper. And again, the nature of your project is going to determine which of these things you'll use and what style they will take. I've just reached into a drawer full of pre-made ephemera. Took a bit of doing to find some things. But the reality is that not every journal topper is going to be, or any particular item is going to be the right choice for your particular project. So that's where taste and aesthetics and theme and availability come into play. So journal topper. I'll make a pile here on the side. This is perhaps the very first, the only. This is what is typically called a spine dangle. So it just seemed, I mean, this is a beautiful spine. I kept it intact. I put an eyelet and a bulb pin, and it's got this lobster claw thing here. And this is basically just off a pendant. And it just seemed like enough. You will see, trying to find where I wrote that down. You will see that some people go really over the top with that. I mean, sometimes you see videos with spine tangles that are literally have, I don't want to say yards, but well, maybe in total, yards of fabric, lace, you know, beaded elements, and you name it. And most of the time they're detachable, as this one would be. Oh, I see that bulb pin has let go already. You know, obviously sitting on a shelf like so, it would look nice. You know, and again, personal choice. And I will try not to say that with every element. Okay, when I find that, I'll have to cross it out. So let's just, okay, so in the past, clearly I made some little tabs. Now tabs, these particular ones happen to have been made out of wallpaper border. And I have a punch like this. The highly coveted punch for making tabs is called a whale tail. Apparently they don't make them anymore, and I don't know how the planets would have to align for you to be able to find one that is not a ridiculous price. I'm not looking. I don't care. You know, I don't need to be with the cool kids. So I clearly had made these few little tabs thinking that at some point I would add them. But you can see, looking at the side of this, that there are a few other things that are serving as tabs. So tabs can be whatever you want them to be. They can be paper, they can be lace, they can be fabric, they can be a ruffle. So again, you pick, you decide. You're in charge of the world. You're in charge of your world and deciding what makes the most sense for you and your project. Tabs can go on the side. They can also go on the top. And sometimes if your pages are very close to the edge, you know, maybe hadn't been cut back kind of to the ideal size, then it makes a little more sense to have them at the top. But again, it's personal choice. This, I have 5 signatures here, and each signature has the same sort of signature cover. Now, in this case, well, that's got a pocket there as well, but in this case, for continuity, I have used another wide wallpaper border. I don't think it particularly matters how big this journal is, but just to give you some context, 9 by, say, 5 1/4 are the pages. So sometimes people choose to have signature covers. Well, it's a design choice, but in this case, it's also, this is pretty durable stuff. So sometimes people will use cardstock. Sometimes people won't use a definite signature cover at all. So I'm not going to say personal choice. Signature cover, okay. So again, if it fits, if it makes sense to you, do it. I guess I'm kind of flipping through here and just jumping all over my sheet here. So another word that is thrown about very often, and I don't want to say necessarily carelessly, but it's the word distressed. So probably the most common way that people distress anything is using some sort of a brush. Like these are just makeup brushes. What the heck was that? These are makeup brushes that I bought by the handful. They were available at Dollar Tree for something like $1.25 or $1.50 each. And you can see that I have them in a variety of sizes. This size is the best in my opinion. But there's also this one that is almost useless. But anyway, you know what it's like. With items like this, it's buy them when you see them. And I try very hard to keep my colors distinct. So distressing would be, using an ink pad. Typically it's Ranger's Distress Oxide or just Distress ink to darken the edges of something. So for instance, on this tag, looks like I used black. But distressed can also mean crumpling up paper. Distressed can also mean ripping something. And sometimes you'll see that people are folding things back and then they're maybe running their doohickey, their brush, or whatever kind of dauber or whatever they're using, and making it look even more distressed. There are some really good videos out there if a person, maybe has a document that they want to really, maybe it's a digital, but you want it to look like it came from Europe and it's, 200 years old. So you can just see how that little bit of running really a dry brush over these creases tends to make this look distressed. And maybe while I'm talking about that, I should also mention the word grungy. Grungy is another one that is so, you don't have to go far to be hearing that word at all. So grungy typically would be something that is darker in color, I would say. It could be eco-dyed paper. That's another, I guess every sentence I'm saying is going down another rabbit trail. But so it would be paper that looks like it's been through the mill. Maybe it's paper that maybe it involves using packaging paper or paper bags or anything kind of beat up and rough looking. And it's further grunged. I don't even know if grunged is a verb. Further grunged up by different techniques. So grungy is going to have a totally different feel in the end than, some of these really lacy, super embellished, frilly-dilly, girly projects that you sometimes see. Just reaching for a Tic Tac. So again, I think this is, if it was possible to explain all this in one video, then YouTube would not exist. So there are obviously techniques, variations, permutations, how-tos, show and tells, flip-throughs, and all of those kinds of types of videos, that help a person refine some of this knowledge. What I'm trying to do is talk the basics here. When you see blotchy paper like this, I just tucked this fabric in. It's the same one that I used on the spine. It is typically coffee or tea dyed. but we know that there are lots of other ways to dye paper. So you can use ink, you can use paint, you can use a concoction that you make yourself using, say, avocado or purple cabbage or onion skins. What else have I got on my list here? Avocado, vegetable, oh, Kool-Aid, and maybe that's about it. So this, to go back to grunge, you would find more and more heavily dyed, this kind of dyed paper in that project. I don't know that there's, well, okay. If I were to glue these things top and bottom, this would be a side pocket or a side tuck. It almost seems to me as though tuck and pocket is somewhat interchangeable. So I to be honest, I don't know, is this a flip out if it's not glued down? I don't know. But you can assume side means side. I'll show you some other things. This, I believe, is baking paper. You know, the stuff that you line a cookie sheet with. That obviously I got some dye on. This is really old paper. So what I did was reinforce it with a bit of one of my own digitals. This is from a poppy wall hanging. I have it here in a tiny wall, and it is about 5 feet tall, about maybe 7 or 8 inches wide, and it's just a whole bunch of poppies in different colors. So, and it came from Ukraine many, 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 many years ago. So just by gluing this strip on, maybe an inch wide each side, I have reinforced the edge of this paper and strengthened it. So what else have I got here for edging techniques? So to do a page edging, you could also use lace or ribbon or washi tape or paper, as in this case, and also something, I mean, it wouldn't, oh no, I'll leave that as another example. Basically, we're talking about either decorating and or reinforcing. Sometimes, excuse me, if you buy I need a sip of hot water here. If I don't want to drink caffeine, I just drink boiled water. And it is Sunday night as I'm doing this. If you buy scrapbooking pads or someone's, or if you thrift some supplies, sometimes you'll get fancy sort of die cut paper borders that come with kits or pads. Okay, now this, I clearly made a bunch of these because I found 2 or 3 more. So this is just a different style of cluster. Oh, heck, I don't think I brought another sample here. But clusters can basically, boy, that's an oversight. This one is elongated, so it's tall and skinny. And you can see that it looks, now I could glue it down, I could leave it paper clipped there. But you can see that it's really nice. If that's the look you want. Clusters typically are more circular or square in size, and they can be put anywhere. They can be in a corner, they can be attached to some other element on the page. They're typically made of either paper. Let me just have a quick look through some of this stuff here. I thought I had a sample of everything. They could be paper or fabric or a combination of both. They could be really luscious, or they could be, let's see if I got anything up here. No. Oh, darn it. Okay, I have some fussy cuts here. So suppose I took one of these flowers and stuck it to, oh, this is it looks like I wrote this with my left hand. Fall in love with souls, not faces. How's that for good advice? Okay, so let's just pretend that this was a, boy, I've only got 1,000,000 of them, just not right here to show you. Okay, suppose we had a piece of paper, and imagine that this matched. So a piece of paper of some sort, and maybe some book page. There's a cluster of the simplest order. And what did that take? About 3 seconds? Find a piece of scrap something or other. I should pull this thread up. This would be more useful to me. Stick that on there, maybe add a label, and you've got a cluster. And again, that could be put anywhere. So a cluster is defined as a small, I would say small page decoration using, whatever your little heart desires and whatever, your imagination is is the limit. Okay, let's talk about digitals. This happens to be a Shabby Dabby Doodah. This happens to be a Hazel Anaka. There are, digitals, printables, digis, all the same thing. They are elements that either somebody has designed with their own little hand, so they own that creation and can, of course, digitize it and sell it if they wish. Or they have used elements that are, say, copyright free. So, and let me just say that the current definition of vintage is that it's more than 25 years old, which is no biggie because that's not the 90s. Or to be antique, it needs to be 100 years old. So a lot of the images that you see out there have come from publications or creations that are out of copyright, which means that unless somebody or their estate has continued renewing the copyright, those items are kind of free to use without getting into trouble or having to pay someone a licensing fee. Typically, there are... Okay, let me just say one other thing about starting out. I would watch videos and I would see people using all these different kinds of papers. And they'd say, oh, it's a digi-kit from so-and-so. And I'm taking notes and I'm looking these things up. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, my kingdom for some of this stuff. And then you realize that, number one, there's a lot of free content out there. And I mean free in that people give freebies. Whether it's weekly or monthly or whatever. So if you start paying attention to that very soon, and even without opening your wallet all the way open, you will find that you have more stuff at your disposal to create with than you could have imagined. And in fact, I'd venture to say that every one of us has more stuff to use than we will possibly ever use or even remember we own. So don't fret about, oh my God, I'll never be able to have this stuff. Yes, you will. Trust me, you will. Okay, so digital, let me cross that out. Digitals, printables. And of course, there are, there are places where you can source your own material to use. That is the slow and painful way. You can obviously buy digitals from people through Etsy or Ko-fi or websites or wherever. If you are acquiring your own antique items, you will have your own stuff eventually to use. I'm not pretending to give you legal or copyright advice. I mean, it's the onus is on each and every one of us to make sure we're doing the right thing, because there are obviously penalties and consequences for stealing other people's stuff. And that's obviously only fair and only right. There are also subscription places, small operations like small YouTube, and I don't mean small like me. I mean, how can I say this without hurting anyone? I mean, sort of sole proprietor type operations that have subscriptions, or there are the gigantic ones like the Graphics Fairy, the Digital Collage Club, where, the fee is significant, but you also get access to a heck of a lot of material. I paid the lifetime membership to the Graphics Fairy. No, the Digital Collage Club. And then for the Graphics Fairy Premium membership, it's an annual one. I was under the delusion that I was going to be able to teach myself to use Photoshop elements. Well, my goodness, I would have to stop every other thing I do to be able to do that. I mean, it's still my goal, but my goodness, it's not an easy thing. Anyone who learned Photoshop is obviously off to the races. Okay, let's keep going. This is another way to decorate the side of a page, just by stamping. I don't know why I chose mushrooms, but I noticed that I did a heck of a lot of them in here. Now that went that way. I think I did have some horizontally. So again, stamping. Okay, this, I saw a video on this, and unfortunately I don't remember. I thought it was brilliant. Piece of lace or a piece of fabric, a little tiny piece of batting, hand stitched together, and hang a charm from it. And this I obviously glued to the page. I love these. I have a whole bunch of them made. Okay, so what else do we have in a journal? Well, we have book pages. We have digitals. We have, now this is a digital that I made from some gel printing that I had done, gel plate printing. We have, old workbooks and notebooks and so on that were taken apart. Vellum, tracing paper, typing paper, stationery, copy paper, original art. There is no limit to what you can use for the type of paper. Oh, I ran these mushrooms across the bottom. Here's another one of those tall, skinny clusters. Oh, this is a digital that I made out of a Masterboard. And let's just talk about Masterboards for a second, but let me cross that out too. A Masterboard Now, typically, I would have liked, I've misplaced it. I know, you guys cannot believe. I have such a track record for never losing anything. But believe it or not, I've lost the book that I do my masterboards in. And I'll just say that I think it's a genius idea. I first heard it on, or saw it on Gail Augustinelli's channel, and immediately, I think the mark for me as to how good an idea is whether I drop everything and do it immediately. So it was just an oversized book, not particularly thick, and I've shown it to you in the past. But anyway, that I've done collage on. So I couldn't find that, but I will show you. I have this other pouch with a bunch of them in here. And these are in various stages of completion. So here's one, you know, pretty neutral. You can do anything to that. This is vintage. So theoretically, depending what I add to it, I could scan that. Sometimes I just love the black and white. Now, the idea is, oh, I obviously did it on some paper that I didn't care for. There is no right side to this. Okay, so one of the features of a masterboard is sometimes you want to keep turning it over and over till you get it so that no matter how you cut it up in the end, it's still going to look good. This is one that is scannable because all of these elements are okay. This one is done on 12 by 12 something or other. This one is also scannable because there are more of those little poppies that or not little, but those are the poppies from that wall hanging. These are linens that I have. These are my doilies. This is a vintage something or other that I got off the internet. And when I say off the internet, I don't mean I just, you know, copied it. I researched it and found that it was public domain. What else have I got here? Okay, not those. This one, also black and white, but you can see I distressed around the edges. Oh, I think I did a video on this, probably during the 100-day. These are quilt pieces that I collaged on there. More quilt pieces, but I stitched over it to help hold them down. So these are masterboards, and typically the idea is that you make them to use up scraps and to create bases for other things that you will use in your journal. And by that I mean things like cards and pockets and so on. And we'll see some of those soon. Oh, I did want to say that if you're new and you're enjoying this video and you think, okay, but she didn't show the how-to, or she didn't explain in enough detail for me to actually do it on my own, then just say so in the comments, and I would be only too pleased to, you know, do a video, you know, a tutorial or whatever. Okay, so this seems to be one of the few pockets I put in here. So this is a pocket. And a pocket can be anything. It can be part of a digital. It can be here. It can be on the side. It can be, well, this would be better on the right-hand side because then you could stick things in from the side. It can have another pocket to it. It can be at the top, and see, this is where that whole tuck pocket thing gets a bit blurry. In this case, and these are, I think I did I know I did a video on this, embroidering on paper. So, well, let's talk about this while we've got it. These are tags. No, these are journaling cards. People seem to, and I almost use it interchangeably, people seem to believe, well, who am I to say? Most people will call it a tag if it's got these corners notched out. So I think the origin maybe was luggage tags initially. So this is a tag, and tags can be miniatures that get used in a cluster. Here is one that came, this is a sticker, I think, yeah, that came in a kit of some kind. I mean, there are tags that are smaller than this. Itty bitty, teeny weeny, yellow polka dot bikini. Little teeny tiny tags. They can be commercial, like bought tags from, you know, the dollar store or stationery store. They can be made out of book page. They can be made out of scrapbooking paper or cardstock or anything your little heart desires. They typically have space at the back to write on. They may or may not be stitched around, and they tend to be a bit more robust than just an ordinary piece of paper. So this is a book page that is really old, 18 something, and I obviously backed it. This is folded over and doubled up, so it gives it a little more heft. So again, if we were trying to position things, tags can be, well, we're talking tags. So this tag could be clipped on here with a paper clip. It could be glued on, say 3 sides, and then it becomes a pocket. It could be attached, perhaps with fabric or washi tape or something, and become a flip out. So you can see how these things, it compounds on itself. So most things are more than, or can be more than one thing. So let's throw that aside there. Here's another one of those, H for Hazel. You can see, use some old book page there. Some kind of, I don't even know what that is anymore. Okay, here's another page decoration that's sort of just, it's just decorative. Now maybe those are the only devices that are, oh, this I did a long time ago with ink. So, you know, ink bottles, and I don't mean like Ranger ink, I mean ink that people would have used back in the day for lettering or whatever. You know, sort of the India ink family of inks. Here is paper ruffle. I chose that because it goes with the colors. Here's another one of those beautiful things. Here's another page reinforcement, again, because that is that weak paper. This is another digital of mine, using some bark cloth that I have and some my own stamps and old book page. Where's the other side of that? That's one of mine too, using textual items. Why can I not find it? More stamping, some fabric that was dyed, some mark making. Okay, so let's look at some of the other things that I have here. And let me also check my list. Okay, so I've talked about pockets. Now, pockets can be on the side. They can be at the bottom. They can also be, now I didn't dig for a corner pocket, but you can imagine if well, that's the wrong angle. So pretend if I had something triangular shaped here, that's typically like a corner pocket. Okay, corner pocket. Okay, I talked about upper tuck and side tuck. So if, let's find something different here. When you try to find it, you can't find it. Well, I have this, which is something I fussy cut around some, obviously, packaging from a stamp. And is this not beautiful all by itself? So I would just glue this down, like glue up to that little guy's beak, there, along there, up to there, and I would have a side tuck, side pocket, you know, whatever. Now maybe tuck. I guess if you had a gun to my head and, okay, what's the difference between a side tuck and a side pocket? Maybe a tuck is shallower than a pocket. You know, narrower, less room to stick things into. I don't know. That's my theory at gunpoint. Okay, ruffles. So I showed you this paper ruffle, but of course there are also fabric ruffles. And fabric ruffles can be this wide, which is maybe an inch and a quarter, inch and a half. You can glue them so that they don't extend past the page, or you can also sew them on before you sew your signatures in. So this could be sewn on. It could run the length of the page, and it could be flush with the edge. It could be barely hanging on and extend way past, so that when your journal is closed, and you wouldn't just do one, you'd have probably a variety of them. You'd have them sticking out, you know, a little bit and creating this interest on the side of your pages. They may not run the whole length of the thing. Maybe you cut it off here. Maybe you just want a couple of inches here. Or maybe you wanted to extend, maybe you wanted vertically at the top or a bit down at the bottom, serving the purpose almost of a tab. So there's that. Should maybe just reach for the different things here and see what else I have. Okay, envelopes. So this, I love working with napkins. I attach this napkin to this envelope and clearly didn't finish doing the back. Or maybe I chose to leave it that way. Who knows? So another word that you're going to hear a lot of is the word altered. So altered, of course, means to change. So we have altered envelopes and altered paper clips and altered cards and altered books. So an altered envelope or an envelope, any kind of an envelope. This is an envelope. This is an envelope. Now, because I haven't glued this shut, this could have been sewn in at the time the signatures were being sewn in, and then closed after the fact. Envelopes, well, probably wouldn't do that there, but okay, say, well, let's just pretend that the backside wasn't going to be a problem. This could be glued to the page, and it becomes a flip out. You flip it out, there's more decoration here, there's maybe decoration here, and of course, there is this hidden storage. Or, well, I guess not so hidden. People make journals that are solely envelope. It's just a you know, kind of a puzzle and a flip and a flap and a... So, envelopes. I have a few more to show you. This is a coin, what's called a coin envelope. And this is so heavy. I'm sure I made this. And of course, collaged on it. Now, something like this, because it's been decorated on both sides, more than likely would just get paper clipped in. If it were glued down, obviously, this would have been a waste of time and effort. So, I guess that's something to think about. If you intend to glue it down, don't waste your time or supplies doing the back. I thought I had more envelopes here, and I do. This is another style of envelope. And it's not glued, it's just held together with this fancy-dancy construction. You open it up and look at all those places to write. First time I saw this, it was Pam at the Paper Outpost with this closure. This is, you can't get any simpler than this. This was something that I just gel printed. So it looks like an envelope, and you'd probably glue this part down. But if a person, oh, what is this? They'd open it and, oh. And of course, envelopes can be any size you make them. I have smaller ones than this, but is this not the cutest little thing you've ever seen? Boy, I could have used some hand lotion. So envelopes. This is an envelope. This is a CD envelope. Now, in this case, I must have opened it up. I'm thinking that I opened it up because I've obviously decorated the inside. The inside could have just, and I can still obviously put something into it. I could put a card in here. Let's just pretend that this fits. You know, you can still put something in there. Now, because the orientation of my decoration is such, this would either have to get glued to the page, like so, and flip up, or it could hang over a page, which in that case is a page. Is it called a hangover? Oh, I'm losing my grasp here. Trying to see if I had a note about that anywhere. Well, let's just call this a flip up. And again, you could still tuck something in there. Or you can do it like so, clip it in, and a little more ease of access that way. It's time for me to to cross some of this stuff out so that I make sure I cover. Talked about altering. Journaling card, flip up. Okay, we still have a few more things to go through. I've talked a lot about, oh, you could clip it in. Well, oh, and I've talked about altering things. Altered paper clips. Now these, of course, are dangles. You couldn't actually clip anything with them, but aren't they cute? This is as simple as it gets. Well, maybe let's put that. So, piece of twine. Well, we'd probably not want this upside down, so pretend it's right side up, but it can't get much simpler than that. This is a more elaborate altered paper clip. What do we want to clip in there, though? Okay, let's say we had something like this. Again, these things don't go together, but I'm kind of limited in what I have at my hands here. So let me just see. Okay, so altered paper clips can be side or top. This one is a top one. Like that's how you'd put your... And this, of course, is almost like an upper tuck as well. Now these pages are taller. Oh, lost the paper clip that was here. These pages are taller than this, but this could be a belly band. And that was the thing that I just thought was so bizarre. Now, belly band. They can be, assuming that this design was right, horizontal, which kind of makes more sense. A band around your belly, typically, that would be horizontal. But it can also refer to something that is vertical. So this is more like the right size. Typically, if I'm doing them, I want them to be kind of from the top of the page to the bottom of the page. You glue them top and bottom, and then can tuck things in there. They tend to be, again, more, they've got some heft to them so they can withstand the action in and out. Okay, what else? This, if the pages were shorter, this could work as a belly band, although I suppose, you know, I don't really think I have a really small page here, but this could also just be, you know, decorative. So there is space on the back to write. So again, this could just be clipped in. This is a place card. So it was pre-scored. It's got the little silver thing around it. I obviously coffee dyed it, and then I attached some, it's not washi tape, it came off a bigger sheet. I figured I thrifted this, don't really know what it is, don't know where it came from, blah, blah, blah. I want it gone. I want it used up. So this could clearly be clipped to the top of the page. So that would be like a hangover, as opposed to the kind that you get when you drink too much. This is, again, got that notorious tag shape. So this is clearly a tag. And typically a tag would have some sort of a hole. It could be this round one. It could be the horizontal one. It could be the ones like they use in stores for hanging merchandise. It'll have some fibers, some ribbon, this is a tassel, I think, off a bookmark. It may also have an eyelet reinforcing and strengthening that hole. Typically, it will have space at the back to write on. It may be sewed around, it may not be. Every style under the sun. This is another example. I would call this a journaling card. It's fairly, it's got a bit of lumpiness to it because there's fabric and there's a silk leaf and there's a bit of burlap and a sticker and a fussy cut. Zigzagged around it, added some fiber. So again, and it's got an eyelet. So you could either put this in a pocket, or you can clip it in, or whatever. And again, I'm starting to repeat myself. Here's another little thing. It just has this, obviously one of those things that you get from, you know, those charities. They want your donation. So it's a sticker there, so a place to write on both sides. Typically, I would round the corners. The corner rounder that I have, I bought this secondhand, I mean, from a thrift store. Don't even know. Don't see a brand name or anything on it. It says patent pending. I like it. It's easy. Goes through most stuff. I have the more expensive one that I almost never reach for. So again, I bought this not even really knowing what it was, but I thought this looks like a gizmo that I need, and I maybe paid $2 for it. And it's still ticking. This is a fabric flip. Now, lace, bits of fabric, some ribbon. I did a video on this and I stitched across the top, but clearly that could have also just been glued down. Fabric flips. Now, another thing I didn't think of bringing is just a piece of fabric. Now, this is on a card, which means you could journal on the back of it. Quite often, I and others will just glue a piece of fabric down, or maybe a few pieces of fabric down, straight to the paper, straight to the page. Or if we thought of it ahead of time, we may stitch across the top to secure it even further. This is, let me just be sure. This is another altered envelope. And it also serves the purpose of being a wraparound. So it's a decoration on this side and on this side. And it would be clipped into place. Here's, again, just to, make it obvious that these are pockets, I just stuck a couple of tags in. And, of course, the sides are pockets as well, and that's what that divot signifies. So, again, it's an envelope that's been altered. It's a collage. It's using some fabric. It's using some fancy paper. It's using the negatives from some punch-outs. It's using, and I guess that in itself, if you've ever looked up the definition of ephemera, it means something that is sort of disposable. So you use a coin wrapper, you're finished with it, typically it gets thrown out. You read a magazine, typically you throw it out. So it doesn't necessarily have any, it's considered disposable, I guess, in a sense. This is, I guess, a journaling card. I have an eyelet in the corner. I've got a ball pin and a gem of some sort. And this is an item that I stamped. So again, this could be wherever I want it to be. If it were put here and glued on two sides, it becomes a corner tuck. If it's glued on 3 sides, it becomes a pocket. If it's up here, it's an upper tuck. If it is clipped in, it's a journaling card. So that's another reason why things are maybe a bit murky sometimes, because there are so many different possibilities. This, I believe, I would have salvaged from a greeting card. And I'm not quite sure why I put washi there, if I was covering something up or what, but this could be a couple of things. Now pretend that fold wasn't there. This page is a little too narrow. well, we wouldn't put it here because the colors don't work, but just pretend. So this could be a wraparound, which again, this should be decorated. This could be a pocket if it's glued down. This could be, if it's glued there, this could be a flip out. If this were at the top of the page, it could be kind of a flip up. And on this side, obviously a person would decorate it as well. So again, I mean, I've shown you a dozen different things. This was from the video I did on using rickrack. Well, this is some old, well, vintage wrapping paper. So what is this? Is it a journaling card? Is it a wraparound? Is it, what else could it be? I don't know. Maybe that's enough choices. If the back wasn't decorated, it could be glued down and just become a, what you may call it. You know. This is obviously somebody's digital. I have a weakness for poppies, so I printed it and glued it closed, and it is, I guess we would call it a coin envelope, even though it doesn't have a flap. This beautiful thing was from the video where I did the lace masterboard and then decorated it and became a journal card. So again, side tuck, flip out, pocket. So you can see that the style does not at all matter. Oh, I wanted to show you this. Sometimes you'll hear people talk about writing boards. I happen to like writing boards. I think they make a lot of sense. I use them in my planner, and my planner is not a lumpy, bumpy thing. But if suppose that as I was talking, suppose I had been clipping and gluing all this stuff in. Imagine how that could be if I actually wanted to write in this book. So if I was writing on this page, I would put this underneath. And this is just a piece of, I don't know, chipboard or something. And I love this image because I love those colors. And that little kid is so cute. So typically you want your writing board to be firm and smooth. You wouldn't embellish it because that defeats the purpose of the smooth. And it looks like it needs a bit. So the paper was old. It came from one of those Walter Foster art books. Is there any purple left on here? And it, I need a wetter brush. You typically want it to be as close to your page size as possible. So when I was deciding, okay, well, what should I show you guys? I have others. Again, you can see that came out of Walter Foster. This is drawer liner. You know, those scented drawer liners. Let me give this a sniff. I think this might have been one too, but it's lost its. This is that masterboard of mine, my digital on with this textural thing. Music paper. This, just numbers. I don't know. This is an index. Now this side is not particularly smooth, so maybe a person would use this side right on that guy's face. This is wrapping paper. This is another Walter Foster, Walter Foster, Walter Foster, Walter Foster. And these obviously came out of a planner that I must have taken apart, and they are laminated. So your writing board could very much work in the same aesthetic as your project. Okay, a couple more things. Let me just quickly skim down my list here. Okay, I talked belly bands, vertical or horizontal. I talked about paper ruffles, talked about clusters. Okay, I said when I was handling that envelope, I said that it could be sewn in at the time, into a signature. The other thing that can be sewn in, but again, you really have to think ahead for this. If I had a couple pages that were, well, let's pretend that these two are the same size. I mean, you have to use your imagination here. If I wanted a really big pocket, before sewing this in, you can sew 2 folio pages together. So if you wanted a top-loading pocket, you'd sew around, but I don't have, or do I have any signature pages handy? You'd sew along here and along the bottom, and, obviously you'd find the other end of this. It still would be loose in your hand. These 2 pages, you'd sew around there to get a top-loading pocket. If you wanted side-loading pockets, you would run your stitching across the top, across the bottom. It would then open up from here and from here. But again, you have to think about that before you sew it into the signature. Okay, so there was that. I talked about ephemera. Fabric flips, I talked about tags, talked about writing board. Okay, the last thing I want to say, and I haven't used this or made one for a long time, are snippet rolls. Now, again, the style that you make depends on, here's another little, so you can see how this would go. This is a fabric ruffle, narrow, irregular, lots of fraying threads, and my stitching thread is still on there. This would be ideal in a grungy journal. Okay, snippet rolls. So this one you can see is fairly long, maybe about 30 inches or so. It's a combination of lace, fabric, cheesecloth, music paper, digital, book page, that's gel paper. So people can make these, okay, and this one, it looks like I would have done, I think I have a narrow roll of paper, and I just use that as a base. And maybe it's a high time to do a video on making a snippet roll. There are several styles, several techniques. Some are over the top, loaded, and thick and luscious and blingy. Some are flatter and simpler and plainer. Again, it depends on your taste, on your style, on your project. So if I wanted to use this, and now that I've found these guys again, I should be using them, I could snip it off right here and glue it down to this page, and these colors would work. And I have enough that I could do it again somewhere in the journal. This is one of the early ones that I made, and it was muslin, some stamped fabric, some other, so muslin, then something sheer, and then another print, and these sort of rectilinear shapes that I sewed around, and some buttons to pick up on the pinkish tones in there, and some of the pink ink that I used. I've never used it, but I certainly could. So you basically cut it off as you need it. And again, do you need it the whole way? Do you want to use it as a belly band? As a belly band? I need to start using these things. Here's another one. this is, again, a cross-stitch pattern that I have in my shop. This looks like it was maybe done on cardstock. Whoopsie there, that hit the floor. This one is sort of that pink-orange combo that I like. This one has been done on interfacing, and you can see that I hand-stitched some stuff on and I zigzag down the middle. I would say this is probably not complete. So that's the other thing. You can, much like a masterboard, you can make your basic one and then just embellish once you know where you're using it. More cross-stitch. These are little silk bows that I made, some Ukrainian script there, Ukrainian cross-stitch patterns, Ukrainian writing. I must have been on a Ukrainian kick at that time. I have Ukrainian letter stamps, and I cut up this ribbon, obviously. This, I wonder if this, whoops. Why does it, this almost looks like I basted it. I wonder what I was doing here. So this one you can see is very wide. I honestly don't remember what my intention was, but you can see I have interfacing a bag from who knows where. Almost looks like fast food maybe, or something. It says the bag is compostable. I have some lace, all kinds of fabric, more lace. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there, but that obviously needs finishing. This one is all paper and some chipboard embellishments. This one is, I would say both of these, I must have watched a video and quickly, okay, these are all sort of aimed to be vertical because there are some, the way the words are going. Now, of course, some are also, the snippet roll is meant to be used vertically because some of this stuff is horizontal, but I've also put some words that you can easily read that way. And maybe that was it for those. Then there was another style that I did. I got, this was I riffed on somebody else's idea. Basically strips of paper, just glue, 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 glue. And this is all napkins. Because again, you know I love napkins. 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 Because you know you end up with all those small pieces. Napkins. Napkins. They're all napkins. So clearly I should be using some of these. Anyway, guys, I don't know how long I've been going at this, but it seems like a long time. It seems like I'm getting hoarse or hoarser than normal. So I just wanted to give the newbies a starting place, and hopefully this has helped and not muddied the waters for you. Again, I'm saying it again, and I truly mean it, that if there's something here that you've seen, whether you're new or not so new, but you want to see a process video on how to do it, then by all means, write that in the comments. And if I can accommodate it, you know that I will. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that this has helped and not hurt. And I am going to make it my business to start adding things to this book, because otherwise, why did I make it? Got a bit of a color scheme going here, but goodness knows I have enough stuff that I should be able to either throw the colors out the window and go totally eclectic, or find enough stuff that matches so that, you know, it's not jarring. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have enjoyed this and found it useful. I also hope that you will give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.